Afternoon, everyone. I wanted to talk to you about cleat position and how that affects riding, in particular on a recumbent bike. I happen to ride my cat trikes, as you probably well know. So I have 3 of them, and I've switched to electric over the last 2 or 3 years, but which it's less of a importance, but as you don't have to work as hard. But back when I was competitive and cycled, I've been doing this for I've been cycling for about 35, 40 years, and I've been riding recumbents for about 15. So here's what I've discovered, and I've also been doing this, what they call the midsole cleat position for about 15 years. And what I find it does here, these shoes on the right, the orange pair, you can see this is a soccer cleat that I made. We'll talk about that as well here in a minute, making your own shoes. And this is another soccer cleat. The orange one's Adidas, and Puma, I believe, is this other one. I believe that's a Puma. They just happen to have flat spots in the middle of the shoe where it made it convenient to mount. Then this is my North Wave old cycling shoes, and I've moved them down a little bit beyond what they would normally go. And what I've found over the years is that allows me to get more power. You can push harder. And I equate it to like if you're doing leg squats or lifting something really heavy, you wouldn't stand on your toes to do it because you wouldn't be able to lift as much. And on a recumbent bike, we'll look over here and let you see it. So on a recumbent bike, we have this big seat that your back's in, and your cranks are, pardon the mess here, I've been working on the bikes, and your cranks are out in front of you. So when you push on the pedals, you're pushing against the back of the seat with your back. So you can get a lot more power and leverage on the cranks. And with a regular shoe, let me get it here, I'll try to demo it a little bit. Like if you're pedaling on your toes, every time you push really hard, your heel drops because you can't maintain the posture. And also, if you look at my shoes here on my tennis shoes, if you look down my leg, the center of my leg is more towards the heel and the midsole of your shoe. And so that's kind of the balance or power point. So when you're sitting on the seat of your recumbent bike, any recumbent bike, I rode low racers, high racers, Rans Extreme. I've had a bunch of them. Right now I'm just doing the electric, the trikes, cat trikes. And so when you're going to push, you drop your heel with a regular shoe, and you, to me, you lose power. I'm going, I would say, anywhere from a quarter mile to a mile an hour faster, depending whether it's a hill, flat. I'm faster everywhere with the midsole cleat. I've proven it to myself, and you're just able to push harder. I especially notice it anytime I'm accelerating or going up a hill. So your body's more in line. Also, I think it helps with hot foot. Different people's gotten benefits with that as well. So that's kind of my take on it a little bit. We'll touch back on these shoes here, making it your own. What I've found with the 2 pair I've made here recently, which is the Adidas and the Puma, being an ex-racer and used to carbon fiber soles and high-end cycling shoes, most of my shoes are $150 to $300 a piece. when I was riding. But I find the soles on the two pair that I got, I find them a little softer than a regular sole. So if I was still trying to race or be competitive, based on the two I have, I would not use the soccer cleats. Now, if you're older, you're casual, you have electric bike, then they work just fine. But if you're really trying to go at it, and I mean, for me, that's 20, 35 miles an hour, and you're trying to climb hills quickly, and you're being competitive, I find them a little too soft, and I can really feel the shoe flex and bend. But for the older person, the person that if you're riding 10, 15 miles an hour, you're going out for a 20, 30 mile ride, or you have electric, they work quite well for that. They're comfortable, they're lightweight, but I think if you're a fairly serious cyclist that's competitive, I find them a little flexy. Now, maybe other brands might have some stiffer soles. I don't know. I haven't tried everything on the market. These are my first two that I've used. And for my electric, I like them. They're comfortable, and they work well for that because I get quite a bit of assistance out of my electric ones. So that's my take on them. They're comfortable, light, but they tend to lead to the more recreational side of cycling due to the lack of stiffness, in my opinion. We'll jump back to the midsole a little bit. Yeah, if you have any questions on it, or my big thing is it's not just taking my word or somebody else or the hot new trend. It's trying things yourself. So if you're, the way I look at it on the midsole cleat position, if you're a serious cyclist, you're competitive, and you have not tried them, I highly suggest you try them because that's what the benefit would be. They may benefit everybody as far as a little more comfortable foot, less foot pain or hot foot. But if you're really a performance rider, then that's you'd notice that, and the performance would be a lot better. So I just find it creates a much more powerful position. And I would wager if you had a one of them power meters on your pedals or something, a crank-based power meter, that which I do not own, otherwise I would try that you would be able to possibly measure and see the benefit, in something more scientific. Now, I would wager and have considered putting a bathroom scale up there and have somebody hold it and me push against it and then go without. I would bet that I could it would show up more weight, that I could push more pounds with it. I'm thinking 400, 500, 600 pounds of leg force or whatever, because that's what I would used to be able to squat. So I assumed that I could get that kind of somewhere in that neighborhood. But anyhow, I like it, been doing it for years. Quite a few others have done it. I know a lot of world record holders have done it. So just putting it out there, that's my take on it. I'm sure I've left something out, but I've modified all my shoes to be in a lower position. And once again, these ones on the far right, the orange and black and kind of pinkish orange pair, that's the position that I like. I may show you, get a tape measure real quick, and let me go over here and get one. Pardon, I should probably have this out, and then it'll give you an idea just where I'm running it. See, up here on the traditional suit, we'll just go from the we'll go from the toe out. These are about 4 1/4 inches to the center of the cleat from the top of my toe. Give you an idea. And that's not midsole, but that is lowered on my North Waves. On this Puma, it is 7 inches, 7 1/4 from the roughly the toe, the center of the cleat to the toe. So you can see there's quite a bit of difference. And the orange pair is the same way. Again, it's about 7 inches. So on a regular setup, we'll measure where they would be on a regular. If you put it in the middle of your cycling shoe, typically you got about 3 1/4 inch was where your cleat would normally be. That's how far forward or backwards. So mine are approximately 4 inches further back than you could do on a regular cycling shoe. That's how far back they are. And on these, since I got a few more minutes that I can talk here, I just lifted up the sole inside there and took that out. Mine's removable on this pair. And then I marked here and lined it up and drilled 2 holes. And then I just have some real thin nuts, and I put a little Loctite and tightened them down. So that's how I got them on. There's no other support, which if you could mount a little steel plate or something in there, which would complicate things, but that might improve the stiffness. But mine are just 2 holes drilled with nuts, and I think they're just nuts, and I put a little Loctite, but they've stayed in place. They've not slipped. They've worked real well, and I just kind of eyeballed them next to a regular shoe here on the right. I'll bring this one over, and then where they would normally sit, and did the same and made sure is in a similar position, so I have spacing on your crank, because when you clip in, I'm thinking of things as you go on. So if you clip in, you don't want the shoe to hit the side of the crank. So I have about a 1/4 of an inch or so. That's not exactly on there, but that's something you want to consider. So as you can see, I got these mounted to the inside a little bit, slightly there. You can see there, it's mounted to this inside of your foot there, probably about a 1/4 of an inch to give you the crank clearance. So it's not too difficult, and I got these shoes these were like leftover shoes. They were brand new, but I think I paid $90 or $60, between 60 and 90 for each pair. So after paying $150, $250 for these, so it's not that big of a deal to give something a try. And if you don't like it, you just got a couple holes. It really doesn't seem to damage the shoe any in a real significant way. So you can still wear them for other purposes, or soccer, or whatever you want to do. All right, well, that's my time. I appreciate it. Hopefully this has been helpful. If you have any other questions about anything, or the cleats, or anything, like I said, I find it quite beneficial. I'm probably a 1/4 to a mile an hour faster everywhere I go, flats, uphill. And a lot of people go, well, that's not a 1/2 mile an hour is not a big deal. Well, if you go, and I typically ride 100 miles setting, well, 100 miles each mile, another 1/2 mile adds up quite a bit. It's very significant. At the end of 100 miles, you might be 5-10 miles an hour, top 5 or 10 miles ahead only gaining a half a mile. So things to consider on all your cycling upgrades. So it makes a big difference the further you ride. Thanks for watching.